And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lorelines, episode 94. We had a heck of a patch, but it's been a couple weeks now, so hope everyone's still a little bit fresh. And for those who have not experienced it, Pandaemonium Anabaseos is out. It is the conclusion to the raid series, and it has given us some measure of closure and opened other doors. And we're dealing with that today. So hello, welcome everyone. Comms are open.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hey.
Everybody's sleepy. Have we had our coffee?
No. I didn't have coffee this morning, but I did play Pokemon Violet for the first 2 hours of the day.
How did that go?
I hate it.
Thank you.
But only because I can't transfer certain things through Pokemon Bank.
Heartbreaking.
Ayumi has warned me that he's going to try to wait because he has a little bit of a rant about.
90% of what I want to say has been told through the Discord,
Yeah.
and if I start talking, I'll go for an hour.
Yeah.
You guys do your thing.
You know, it's good that we still have an hour left.
That's true. Take it away,
You
Amy.
mentioned that.
Kidding.
No, you guys do your thing, because Neil is here, and I will probably talk about certain prospects, certain scenes, and he doesn't want to be spoiled on them, so.
Just warn me, it'll be fine. Also, sorry, I'm gonna be quiet. I almost forgot to eat breakfast today, so I'm doing that now.
It's completely fine.
I am
Enjoy
a
your
totally
food.
functional human being.
I hear Meowth going off in the background. This pleases me.
So what is warning worthy, Neela, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I like to save specifically the savage transition final bosses.
Okay, so if part two,
because I do raid.
fourth fight, you want to
It's-
save that.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Okay.
that, only that. It's just that, like, when you get there and you experience it fresh, it's this really cool feeling. So, like, kind of, I've really enjoyed it in the past, and I always like try to preserve it when possible.
So do you know what the song is like?
Nope.
Okay, so just transition, boss, song, everything, hush.
Like, just that segment of the fight, basically.
Okay.
I appreciate you guys, by the way.
No worries, we will try. This is
That-
one of
I mean,
this is one of those hard
obviously
fights to
silent.
thread. Actually, this is one of the rare instances where it's going to be tough.
That means I am silent because a lot of what happens is on my
No, that just
on my
means
end.
you tell me when to deafen.
Tune out. Hey,
I
Arden.
assume we
This
were
would be a good time to talk
discussing.
about it, because then I can sit and eat.
We're discussing the boundaries of the discussion because Neela doesn't want to be spoiled on part 2 of the fourth fight.
Okay, yeah, I figured that'd be the case.
Yep, absolutely.
It's the
So
first time it's the first time I actually seeing Arden's new avatar, well, new between quotes,
Yes.
in on stream. Looks good.
Back me off.
What?
Nothing. I'm sassing you.
As is tradition.
go ahead, Amy.
No.
No, I just said as is tradition. Continue.
Nice. Well, so why don't we talk about the patch, Kobe? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I did the MSQ first, and I think like a lot of people left very underwhelmed by it, and I was like, all right, I'll do Pandaemonium in a few days. I waited a few days, and then I did it, and it blew my mind. This was like what I wanted out of the story.
I think you said
Yeah,
something
I-
like this, like the raid was actually the MSQ.
It was the MSQ. Like
He
that felt
told-
more
He
relevant.
told me that, yes, because I so here's the thing, I haven't been able to in the past 2 months or so pay the subscription for 14. So I was kind of resigned to, okay, this patch I'm not going to be able to play, so I will likely have to watch something or read something on YouTube, as I usually do with games that I can't afford. 16, and and suddenly I don't know if it was, I don't know, I think it was I will have to check, but maybe it was 6 a.m. my time, and suddenly I got a Discord DM of Co-op saying, Meowth, you need to play Pandaemonium. I'm willing to pay you a month of subscription. And I was like, I will actually prefer...
You're trying to pay me to play Pandaemonium? What?
It was great because we were
I was-
watching Kobe go through Pandaemonium in Discord, and he just got to a point and he was just like, oh my god, Meowth needs to play this.
I had the same feeling about Neela. I
So-
wasn't sure if Neela would make it back in time.
So here's the thing. I was like, okay, I would actually appreciate the money more, for actual eating, and then God tells me it's filled with Final Fantasy XIII stuff, and it was like, then I was like, okay, forget about eating.
That's right. Don't need food. Play Pandaemonium.
Man doth not live on bread alone, but on every word or thing connected to hope.
Man lives on bread sometimes and writing always.
Truth.
Yeah.
Write that one down. That's good.
So we've been waiting for months and months for a resolution to Pandemonium Part 2, right? I mean, it ended with, oh shit, the fortress is actually in the future. What is going on?
Yeah.
And we're just kind of sitting on it for months on end, wondering when they're going to give us our treats.
Do we want to discuss each boss of Pandemonium normal
I think we
individually?
should discuss themes, and we should go probably beginning to end.
Okay.
All I know is eat, fight is seared into my brain forevermore. After doing Savage. Fucking turn 9.
Yeah. I was actually on vacation last week, which is why I wasn't here that particular time, and did not get to do the raid until this. It was not yesterday; it was the day before on Friday. So that's when I first did that one. I'm like, this is interesting. Vor fight. Just now we have canonical Soul Vor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
this
was
is
very like I remember initially doing the fight and I was like, this is really like horrifying that it's just
Yeah.
in the live stream eating all the souls, and I was like, oh, this is horrific. And I was okay at the end, but when it was happening, I was just like, oh my god, this is the
Yeah.
worst thing ever.
Cobron's like, those aren't
Yeah.
gumdrops, those are
Beat
people.
the souls out of them.
Yeah, it reminds. I have to say, I really should fix the whole thing with Guild Wars 2, because in Path of Fire, which is the second expansion, there's a segment of the game in which there's a soul devouring monster, and I was like, great.
I like that you pronounced it soul devouring instead of soul devouring. It's
Yes.
much better.
It's much better.
Yes.
It's much more on the nose.
Yes.
The whole
the-
soul
That is where the
thing
root of the
reminded
word
me a
comes
bit
from.
of Oversoul too.
Devouring.
Yes, we know. We're just
Okay.
teasing. It was a good pun, even though if it wasn't intentional. Arden,
Yes.
what did you say?
I was saying that the mechanic of the boss, where it's like eating people and using their skills, and the way that was presented, reminded me of Oversoul from the Whirlit questline.
That checks out. Are we talking about
Oh.
Cocytus or Cocytus? How do you pronounce that, by the way?
Cocytus.
Cocytus.
Properly Cocytus.
Yeah.
Cocky toes.
Oh, don't say that.
Yep.
Okay, copy.
What I found interesting about it is that it kind of made sense to have this particular creation housed in Pandemonium, given what we learned of the Themis goals.
It's like
It
a
really seemed like she was-
proto soul, a proto soul mixer, I guess.
Well, and given that she was definitely going to do something with her soul and someone else's body, which we'll get to, it kind of makes sense to be like how you put soul in thing it doesn't normally go in.
So you took this as like primarily a research subject. Gone rogue.
That was the impression I got, yeah.
It could be that. I'm not sure if it would be a research subject or a test method subject, like a prototype.
Yes.
Medium for soul infusion. Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I enjoyed that when you defeat the boss in normal, you see the souls reconstitute outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have color. That soul color I loved.
That's when I calmed down. I was like, okay, everything is fine now.
I wasn't sure how to interpret
You give this
the souls.
mister.
I mean, I know that we're in the ethereal sea here, but it didn't quite know how to take the souls reconstituting. It's not like in the void where the entire living person will constitute, but kind of had a vibe like that to me. I thought it would just, go back and evaporate, but we've got little soul will-o-wisps rolling around.
It seemed to me, just my interpretation, that the souls were the ones that it was eating at least were coherent enough to have personality, because the voice lines are definitely related to the souls it was ingesting. Excuse me. So it sort of made sense that, like, hey, these are a little more coherent. These aren't the evaporates and becomes soul juice. These are the reincarnates type souls, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of what I found so horrific.
That this wasn't
absolutely.
battery.
I was like,
this was soul.
I'm gonna beat these out of them.
Punch the gumdrop machine until the glass shatters.
Total sidebar, but does anyone actually like gumdrops?
No, not really. I mean, they're okay, but
Me?
when they're around.
Ugh.
I like it when paired with Goody Goody.
You're fired.
I'm just here in my. I'm not sure what you're referring to by gumdrop, so I'm just.
They're a
here.
candy that's sometimes delicious.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm looking at the chat real quick, and I see Rug says, I wish the first boss had gotten a smidgen more attention. I think I agree. Part of the issue with the raid series typically is you don't get lore on everything, Remember having similar issues with Eden until the end.
Yeah, I thought they had addressed it later on in the raid series, though, when they were talking about how, because the souls were sundered and not as dense, that Athena needed more of them. So
Sure.
she sent it out to go collect a bunch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh. So that's what you're referring by gumdrops. Okay. Move on.
Yeah, the little colorful soul balls. It's like Skittles.
Yeah.
We'll call them
Okay,
Skittles.
Yeah.
All right, Skittles I can get behind.
Apologies. I was like, oh, okay. We have different names here. Sorry.
Gingerbread Man. Not the gumdrop buttons! That's great. We
No,
also
that's
didn't.
cringe. Wow.
That's cringe.
Different.
Okay, so we also didn't get anything about the tree. I don't think, did we?
The tree.
Oh, all the roots and everything in Cocky Toes Arena.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we didn't.
It's just a set piece, I guess. I was hoping for a little bit more.
Set piece, it may be. It reminded me too much of certain Final Fantasy XIII scenarios that in the trilogy. The whole crystal thing. I know crystal is like a staple for Final Fantasy, but some titles use crystal in some more in particular ways, and the whole thing about the whole thing about crystallized tree. I mean, I was like, I don't really want to see things more than than later would see. But it was a nice starting shot. Like I maybe it doesn't mean anything, but I don't know if I'm making any sense. Likely not. Forget I said anything.
I just thought it was very interesting how it very much related back to how the naming for the English localization is not, Dante's Inferno levels, where I remember Neil was talking about that, where Cocytus, the arena very much reflected the same kind of environment that he was in that.
If I recall correctly, River Cocytus is the river of the dam. I think. Give me a moment. Get you. Go on. I'm doing my on-stream research.
No problem. So, after we defeat this encounter, Fortuno had asked us to go check it out because there was a rampaging crazy beast up in there. and so we go take care of it. And then, is it right after that that Athena shows herself?
She shows herself in the arena, yes.
Yeah, just right after. I was surprised. I mean, we'd been waiting for 2 tiers, but I was surprised at how quickly they introduced her character.
I'm glad they didn't make us wait, honestly.
Yeah.
She was incredibly interesting.
Those eyes.
She was so hot. The crazy just made her hotter.
And now you understand why I like my husbandos.
Right.
So I could go off on dialogue, but I really, really don't want to spoil things. So I am going to be remaining on silent and maybe talk here and there.
I assume
Because
everyone's
I
done normal.
I gonna say I think everyone's done all.
You know the funny thing? I have not done Pandaemonium at all, but I have
But-
researched every single bit of dialogue and watched all the cutscenes and seen the transition. So I know about everything but the fight mechanics itself.
Well, why don't you take the lead there?
Because I'm not spoiling things.
But we've all done normal. Stop being stubborn.
This was something you guys were wanting to talk about since before the raids were even
It's been a couple of
introduced.
weeks. Yeah. So so Athena shows up.
Just happened to something just happened during this raid that I just went off on, and you know what it is. So
I mean, if everyone's done normal, the cat's out of the bag. We have a dialogue option when after Athena has disappeared and we are in front of a reconstituted from memory La Habrea and Erichthonios. Sorry. We have a dialogue choice to ask if Athena ever met the High Seraph. And I think La Habrea says something like, I don't know about all that, but...
that was during P10.
Which is what's after P9.
Yep. We were still on P9.
No. I'm really sure because I think that's no. Sorry. No, you're right because give me a moment. Apologies, cats. So, sorry, I had to go shoo one of my cats.
Okay.
No. So all Athena did was just introduce herself and then try and prove her innocence by saying, "Oh, I'm not the one that was guilty."
So,
we don't trust
Yeah,
you.
you're right. Sorry, that wasn't me. La Habrea does ask after P10 because it's after Pandaemonium, the boss uses Ultima, and that's why. That's
The
what
only
prompts.
bit of dialogue that I found sus was, "You are as stubborn as La Habrea, I see. Although I speak in earnest, you refuse to hear the meaning of my words. Perhaps you would be better served by a different teacher.
Fortunately.
Luckily, you already possess the tools that I require to make one for you." And that's when she makes
our sock
Whistles.
puppets.
Oh, is that what we're calling them?
If you
I hope so.
if you please.
I guess it's better than what I was thinking. We're safe for work at least.
You have a place in my plans. I do hope that in time you will come to realize cooperation is the best path forward. And that was what she said to us right after P9. Before 10.
I mean, it's. I don't really want to start bringing Ivalice out of the right as of now, but
I'm not bringing it up until spoils are okayed.
if
All
we're
spoils are okayed except for the actual transition. Is that a problem?
That's what I mean.
Well, fuck.
Let's just say something happened.
I mean, I honestly would have guessed that if someone was like, please guess what Athena's Savage transition is going to be. I'm like, it's probably some fucking Ultima bullshit. So feel free to go off on Ultima bullshit in that point, in that case.
Well, we're still going through the turns here because we just finished P9. We're into P10.
Yeah, so how does
Yeah.
everybody feel about our castle that I actually wanted to go in and find more stuff, turning into a
Nice.
boss? Because I hate it.
Yeah, major rip.
I hate it.
So here's the thing. How weird is to be horny on main because of a castle voice?
We are professionals here, and we will not talk
Pandaemonium
about
is voiced by the same person who voiced Hermes, so I totally get it.
Makes sense. I
this. Jeremy
guess.
Yang Jones, yeah.
He
Yeah.
actually put out a tweet saying I am Pandaemonium, and it was really funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, for me, it reminded me very much of Alexander from Final Fantasy IX.
Sure.
But, you know, merged with a Nightmare Omega and just absolute nightmare fuel. I hated every second of it. I hated it.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, it was pretty nightmarish. But in addition to the ghoulishness of the boss, I just was kind of. I don't know how I felt about fighting a castle turned into an icon. I don't know.
But see,
It's like the evil cousin of Alexander in a sense.
One Piece did it.
I was gonna say,
Like,
I've clearly
living
done it before in
dungeons-
Final Fantasies.
yeah, the
Living dungeons are a pretty common, like, trope
It is.
in lit RPG and various other RPG style books, so that didn't bother me. I will say the spider-like movements
Yep.
and the jiggly pustule on its
Yeah.
back fucking freaked me out, and I was actually dreading progging that fight on Savage, but actually it's my favorite fight on Savage. So, there's that.
Oh, we're discussing whether we hate it in
Yeah, if
terms
you're
of
too far away
appearance.
from your mic, I cannot hear you.
I'll have to go check on my cats in a moment, but so the thing is, I actually liked Pandemonium. Like, it's the whole thing felt like not exactly a love letter, but a really cool reference to Final Fantasy II, which is not a Final Fantasy you usually see references. And even though the leveling between quotes in 2 is atrocious, it was one of the first Final Fantasies I played, and it was really for me at least seeing Pandemonium, which is the castle of hell. It's kind of sentient in a way in 2, not so much, but you know. But there's still this organic. If you play the city and you play the Pandemonium stage, you see that the walls of Pandemonium are actually pretty organic, and it's creepy. And the fact that the version of Ultima that Pandemonium casts, it's the animation of Final Fantasy II's Ultima, and that was like,
Interesting.
yeah, that was really cool.
that's cool. I didn't-
because Ultima, the spell, the first Final Fantasy game in which made its appearance, and it's a plot point. It's a plot device. That's Final Fantasy II. So it was a really cool nod to the first Ultima ever, and
Can
the first Pandemonium.
Can I interject?
Yes.
I just want to say, from a lore perspective, how horrifying it is that Athena gained the ability to actually make souls.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Like,
Yeah,
they
no,
were
Kind of didn't like that.
So before we go further into 10, there's a dialogue between 9 and 10. La Habrea, we're with the souls of La Habrea and Claudian outside of Pandaemonium, and we're talking with the researchers. And La Habrea brings up a point. Does the word Aurosite mean aught to you? Nemiji is like, Aurosite? Well, yes, there are a few records of its existence. It mainly makes appearances in the legends of Evilis and in tales concerning the Assi and Laha. Stops there.
Yep. But we know our buddy La Habrea is not a fool.
Well, in tales concerning the entity known as an Asian, the personage is associated with the black Aurosite known as the Heart of Sabik, a source of considerable power. And that's when Laha goes,
So it's persisted into this era, or something like that.
I see. So time has not buried it, he
There you
says.
I'm so glad we got a resolution for that thing.
Are we calling it a resolution, or are we
I mean,
really?
We have an
got
origin.
answer,
I was going to
or-
say we have a backstory.
Yeah, we have
won't
an answer
comment
for our
on
original
the,
question.
The solidity or the interestingness of that backstory, but it sure exists.
Yeah.
We also come across Themis. Not the true Themis, but is made by Athena.
Oh boy.
Molded from one of the many souls at her disposal.
So this is problematic.
My understanding was that she actually yoinked the appropriate soul.
Yeah.
From what we got at the end.
I'm just going off
Getting
of
ahead of
the
myself.
dialogue.
Yes.
So I want Cobron to have a chance to finish what you were saying
Yeah,
about
so
the Heart of Sabik.
I actually had a big problem with actually using his soul, because during Endwalker, he's put in the Crystal Tower on the first, and we kind of use his soul as a battery to travel back to Elpis, where he says, this is all going to be used up. There's going to be nothing of me left. I'm gone. Even provided that wasn't the case and he went back into the live stream, he would have been on the live stream on the first. And unless there was some way to bring him back, kind of like Minfilia and Emmett Silk were brought back by Heidelin, I don't see how this would have worked, because she only said that she brought over Minfilia and one other, and it was not Elidibus.
Yes, it was definitely Hades.
Yeah,
That's
his
true.
retconning-
I think they fucked up their continuity. I think they invoked Rule of Cool here because they definitely contradicted that.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
I always thought all along, this is my personal headcanon and perspective, that souls have a kernel that's indestructible unless it does the dissolving thing. So I don't think he was gone. But yeah.
But that is, in fact, what they were trying to state in at least the English localization, and it didn't check out for Pandemonium.
So
Unless
Cobron,
unless
I want
Athena
you
did.
to go to FanFest. Cobron, I want you to go to FanFest, and I want you to ask Kate and the team why that is.
Okay.
Please, if they have lore questions, it's
So
still
that
open.
they
I
can-
just saw a notification for it. Throw that
Yes.
shit in there. Please,
So-
please.
Yes, so that they can look at their own lore and be like, oh shit, we missed some things.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they meant for Athena to have pulled that somehow.
Well, she
Uh,
clearly
Here's a
has
wild-
convocation tier powers.
Here's a wild, crazy theory. Athena. Well, actually, is Athena unsundered, or is she sundered now? She is sundered. Never mind.
She reformed herself from the memory using the heart. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
are
she
you
could be-
sure?
This is not Athena. Athena was killed by La Habrea at the end, but I think that all of
So
this
this is
a bunch
clone
of
Athena.
this is a bunch of memory people. Is how I took
Yeah,
it.
because as far as we know, she didn't store her entire soul in the heart
Gotcha.
of Sabik. It's as
Yeah,
far
I
as
kind
we
of had
know,
the
it's just
impression she
memory.
did, and that's why she was like, "I want La Habrea to kill me." Smiley face.
Yeah, but I think the case with Athena is that she was more or less planting seeds. If it makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Whistles
Seeds
looks
that
away.
can, yeah.
Whistles, looks away.
Planting seeds.
Yep, who else does that?
Yeah.
Johnny
But,
Appleseed.
But like for example, with memory, it's true because like later when things happen and Claudian regain some memories. It's not in the entirety of the memories, but there are a big chunk of the memories of who he was once, you know? So
Yeah.
it's not impossible that for Athena, even though she may be like a Frankenstein soul monster made from the seeds she planted recompose, then that's nightmare foolish in its own way. It makes sense that her memory would be you know complete.
And I mean, like Tetsujin said in chat, La Habrea held on to the heart of Sabik, and La Habrea wasn't sundered. Therefore, the heart of Sabik probably was also not sundered. Therefore, Athena's memory, or Echo, or whatever we want to call her, would also be unsundered.
I think memory is
Yeah.
the right take. I mean, the stone was whole. You know, there's nothing 1/14th about the crystal. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
she may have died in terms of her soul returning to the life stream, but the memory in the crystal would have been, like Ayumi said, kind of like a seed that can grow if given the right conditions.
So when are we coming across Athena's shard?
I think we already have. I made a little bit of a. I don't know if you all saw this in Discord, but the other
You
day
don't want Hojo's shard.
we were talking about Heaven's Ward and how the lady who poisons us also has short hair.
Interesting.
And it's just a little bit of a joke. You know, I don't actually think that's Athena, but I was looking at it as like maybe a visual archetype they're using, where the shorn hair means sneaky. I don't know if that's like a thing that they're
Could you
doing.
imagine if her sanded form had been Yotsuyu?
My God, I'll never trust a soul again.
Yeah, don't trust Shola.
No, but I think it was established ever since Shadowbringers, especially Eden, that even though Sunder beings are reborn without memories, if you can infuse them with the memories of their unsundered beings, their personalities kind of don't change. They're not overwritten entirely, but a big chunk of them is kind of reverts back to who they were back then.
Yeah, it
And
seems like the fundamental flavor of the person retains through rebirth.
Yeah, I think of it personally. This is just my perspective. I think of it as the like I'm sure you guys have heard the blank slate, the tabula rasa theory of people, and I find that laughable because there's just personality. Some of these things are just very much obviously inborn, where you wouldn't have people like fight against their parents so much because they'd be shaped into good little slates.
Right.
I see the soul as having in this paradigm having some of those intangibles instead of the DNA, as it were. Like the same soul is potentially, and again, just my theory. I don't think this is canonical. The same soul is always going to have like an urge to explore or distrust of outsiders or whatever it happens to be. But I think the memories, because if you are distrustful of outsiders and yet outsiders again and again are kind to you and open and welcoming, eventually you're going to overcome that and you're going to grow beyond. Oh Lord, sorry. Someone knocked a shelf down. You're going to grow beyond that. That inherent thing to have decisions that you've chosen to do differently than your nature, maybe.
So is this isn't actually the subject for today, but going off of that, I immediately thought karma in the proper sense, as in the sum total of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, deciding their fate for future existences. That's taken from Oxford Dictionary.
It's interesting because I'm reminded of how Genshin Impact defies this concept in its own way. In that perhaps every soul is fated by a greater ordain to be the same, but little decisions actually can make. I like the overall fate will be the same, but this is the little decisions that we are able to make in existence. In each existence is what actually can make us a different person, and maybe change our fate, or at least let us have more decision over our fate. It's kind of and now we're getting a bit deep, perhaps. So yeah.
Yeah,
Is this my turn to add more dialogue?
It is.
Okay, after P10, we see Themis go and disappear beyond the final gate to Pandemonium, he says. Big rainbow-colored gate.
That looks really fucking familiar, and it's still driving me insane.
Same. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that. Oh, you know what? I figured out what it was from. You remember the cylindrical towers in the P8 arena?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll dig up the screenshots and throw them in our channel.
Awesome.
La Habre says, I ought to have anticipated this. If she bore witness to past events within Pandemonium, Athena would have found Elidibus impossible to overlook.
Agreed. How about you all?
Few possess such a talent for magics, to say naught of the emissary's discerning judgment. And so she found his soul upon the tides of the ethereal sea, and used his memories to craft a puppet that would serve her whims.
See, that's the issue. That's the line I had issue with.
She unsundered. Theoretically, she could travel the rift like La Habre and company. I'm not sure she would, but the potential's there.
This is just convenient hand wavy.
Yeah.
It's definitely rule of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I would have been okay with, like, her memories of Themis being what she used. That would have been fine. But saying that she actually plucked his soul out and his memories out of the ethereal sea, when they weren't even in the ethereal sea of the source, they were on the first, if he hadn't gotten used up.
This is also, that's a lot of contingencies.
Bullshit. I'm sorry.
It's so many contingencies. You know what this was? This is the devs saying, you know what? We know we did you dirty. That this heroic individual who deserved a little bit more just self-suicided. This is why I wanted Neela to play this so badly, because I remember our discussions when Endwalker was just completed. We were going through our 8 or 10 podcasts about MSQ, and this section where basically he says, Lord Zodiark's no longer here. What do I have to live for? Here, let me get you back in time, and then I can disappear forever. You wanted more from that after how they had patch after patch after patch of nothing. In 5.3, he just is gone. This was their opportunity to allow the player to have some closure around the character. And they took it regardless of the lore issues.
Yeah, I mean, but I consider it it's not exactly a retcon per se.
I consider it same expansion retcon, honestly. Like,
I'm
I
in
like
agreement
it,
with
but I'm
everybody.
still calling it a retcon.
I as soon as they said, "Oh, my soul's destroyed," I was like, "This is some bullshit. That doesn't seem right." So I'm sitting here like it seems retcon to me, but it seems like, "Oh, we fucked up," not, "Oh, we just can't make up our mind."
Yeah.
Like the only possible explanation that I could swallow if they wanted to go for that explanation, if Cobb goes and asks them, is that Elidibus thought that would be what would happen to him, but he wouldn't have the. But once it happened, it didn't went the way he expected, and he wasn't sublimated, and instead simply died and the normal way.
Stated shortly, he was wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For that.
I mean, because and the only reason I would buy that is because 14 uses a lot the trope of unreliable narrator, and considering it's coming from someone who hasn't died ever, I could see and I mean I could see the reasoning in that. Okay, he didn't know what was going to happen. but the remaining issue of him staying in the first remains. So that's the point. That's what we don't know about, or if Athena fished him, or that's the real deal. So the thing about Elizabeth's soul is the least of my concerns, because they could say, no, Elizabeth thought this was going to happen, but instead this happened, and they could just chalk it up to his lack of knowledge. But the thing about the first and the sources live streams, that's the thing. Unless they were to pull out the thing about the Crystal Tower's underworld is somehow connected with the source, which I can also see them pulling out, but
So this isn't exactly Pandaemonium related, but it is, I guess, mechanically related. Do we think that this also means Vana wasn't just yeeted and deleted?
I was hoping you would bring this up. I had thought to say so earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt anybody. The fact is, if Elidibus is wrong, Vana could be wrong as well. And maybe she's out there somewhere. And maybe we won't see her in our lifetimes, but it's possible. I mean, they really left the door open on this one. You can't say they didn't. They really left the door open on this one.
Are you sure?
I am.
Because one thing is Elidibus saying this. One thing is having Elidibus be wrong, but the thing about Vana is that it was directly addressed by the developers. So
I was
Which
certain.
always read to me as, we'll just put that away. We're not going to deal with that. We don't want that end dangling.
I was certain they discussed this with him as well. Sorry, Cole.
Yeah, I was too.
My issues with the interviews is, and I think I put this in one of the videos that we put out, where if the game says something different than what the developers say, the game is always right. That always will take priority because that's the canon. They can give their interpretation of it, but the game is going to change, and regardless of what their intent may be, if the game disagrees with them, then the game is right.
Sort of a death of the author aligned take.
Yeah, I mean, I consider that the author's intention supersedes the game interpretation, not canon interpretation. When things there's a difference here between canon and interpretation, but because the game hasn't addressed Vena. That's why I consider the Vena situation. That's why I consider the developers' word on Vena the only reference that we have, And as of now, as in Pandaemonium, we have a different thing with Themis going on.
So,
with
if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that because we haven't seen Vana rebirth, we have to assume that the authors are correct that she will not be reborn. What we're saying is, did they leave the door open by having a similar situation in Elidibus be completely contradicted in expansion? I think the answer is yes. That doesn't mean that she will be, but I think they left the door open, big time.
Agreed.
Exactly.
I'm 80% on no and 20% on yes, but with these things you can never say 100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
When it's about interpretation and this stuff, it's complicated, and sometimes I wish the developers were less ambiguous with some stuff. It would make every lore diver's life less difficult.
So after P10, going into a little bit more dialogue with La Habrea, Ericdonios, and us after Themis disappears. we begin to question what exactly could make Athena pluck a soul from the ethereal sea, and her research go forth with such intense progress, and we deduce that it was the heart of Sabik. Yeah.
Foul. The gate that you showed, the gate. So because we're heading into Themis, right? Give me a moment.
I brought these up because Neela was talking about these earlier. Neela, I have up the images you supplied.
Nice. Yeah,
So-
no, that was just that. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Where do I know this? Where have I seen this?" I was
Same.
like tearing my hair out.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. It feels very familiar, and I didn't know what to make of it. So this first image is, I don't even know what you would call this, a glyph. It's clearly got an eye.
Foul, I'm going to send you something, and if you want to pull it up and see who recognizes this, okay? Or who may recognize this, and I will, yeah. Because now that I've seen the gate again, I remember what were my thoughts.
So what Meowth has supplied me is Etro's Gate from Final Fantasy XIII. So we have a similar eye structure with kind of a clock orb system. It says it's a gateway to the afterlife. It should be up now, but there's about an 8-second delay on the stream.
Oh, that's interesting.
This is
Definitely
on.
has the eye-like thing down.
This is a screen rip from FinalFantasyFandom.com, just so everyone knows.
Mm-hmm. If you want to enhance the image, zoom in. I mean,
It is what it is quality-wise, unfortunately. So this is the structure in Eden. Are there any brainworms, Cobran or Meowth, on this?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
we're here for 90 minutes, so get after it. Have fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of parallels with 13 in this level of Pandaemonium, like a lot. And I know Meowth has constantly been talking about how Elidibus reminded them of Hope, and that was kind of like the parallel from 13. And it was kind of a stretched. It was a stretch for me until this tier, when they went very blatant that Themis was a Hope allegory, where in 13 Hope is recreated basically by Bunavelze.
That's oversimplifying
It is very oversimplified, but basically it's kind of a similar situation where Bunavelze crafts Hope into what he wants and uses him to achieve his goals, and Themis is kind of in the same situation. And there's a really, really emotional scene towards the end of 13 where you kind of realize his job is done and he goes away, and it's almost exactly the same as the end of P11. And the only difference is, in this time it's like, oh, we actually get to save him and he can help us. And it was just really, it was really emotional for me, because I loved that scene, and seeing that again and seeing that parallel and these two characters who I absolutely adore, and seeing how they're like, well, this is what could have happened, if Lightning had bullshit aether powers like we do, and yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I was really happy about it.
So,
But it was bullshit aether powers, though.
For sure. Where did we get this thing?
So, Etro's Gate. Poof. Where to begin with Etro's Gate? The problem here is that I can't really go into the Type 0 thing of Etro's Gate, because Cobb hasn't resumed playing Type 0, and I don't want to spoil him. So what I can say is, limited. So
No, I can mute myself. It's okay.
no, I mean it's okay. Mute yourself. You tell
Definitely even.
Defin, yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Here I go. Etrus Gate is featured not just in Final Fantasy XIII, but also in Type 0. And I'm going to send you a link to you so you can understand why this might be important, okay?
Sure.
I'm going to send you 2 things. And I think I won't have to elaborate. And also, Cobb, please don't look at the screen.
He's deafened.
In any case, and
Meanwhile,
here. And
I
here.
need to step out because it's time for birthday stuff with my partner.
Have fun. Thanks for coming,
So-
Arden.
Have a
fun.
good time.
I will see y'all later.
Yep.
So, there you go, Fao.
Because we changed the thing today and I didn't use restream, we lost our chat for the actual stream. Now everybody who's on YouTube is participating, but that won't be shown in the video record. So I was just adding a window here temporarily.
You rock.
It's fine. It's fine.
And that should do it. That's satisfactory. All right, so next image. Pandaemonium Type 0. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Red Eye, the Wheel of Heaven, Horrifying Archangel, and again we've got the clock sun thing going on.
Yeah, because Pandaemonium in Type 0 context is the palace it's the building that appears in the sky. That's the Gate of Etro, appearing over the castle Pandaemonium when Tempus Finis comes, which is the end of time, comes to Oriens to. And then another new, and if there's no Agito, which means that if there's no savior to the world, that can then the world resets and starts another cycle, and so on and so forth until in Type 0 the cycle is broken, because Class 0 refused to become the sea. So yeah. It's relevant that this same gate is associated in Type 0 with Castle Pandaemonium, and basically the afterlife, in a sense. It does have. In 14, Castle Pandemonium does appear in. It's the Castle of Hell, of course, but it does appear in the Ethereal Sea, so it has connections with the Gate of Etro leading to the afterlife in the trilogy itself, in Final Fantasy XIII trilogy itself. But also, it's kind of amusing because Pandemonium itself has connections with the Gate of Etro and Type 0, which is part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis compilation. Yeah, so yeah. It's kind of talking a bit of the same, but so yeah. And basically, anyone who becomes Agito is basically kind of becoming like a god. So there's that too. Even though a god as a savior for a new Oriens that becomes, it's kind of a mess. But yeah, so so yeah. So yeah, there's that. So that's what the gate. The gate. The gate is we see that in before going into P11. It's obviously different, but I would say the closest reference to the gate. That I mean, my immediate response to seeing that gate was like, "Oh my god, that's Ethros gate." But then, of course, it's not Ethros gate like exactly, but you know. Well, it was my
It
fight or
does. It does
flight.
evoke it. Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying.
And I found interesting that the gate also features the colors of the elements, which I mean it's the rainbow effect, but it's just because the colors of the elements create that effect.
I remember we had some comparisons to the warding scales as well. And then you have the Eye of Horus vibes.
If you want to take down to take away the image, Cobb can join us again.
Oh yes, we're good.
Cobb, you can return.
Can't hear you. We'll have to add him.
Okay, so also yeah. so yeah.
Is Cope still here?
The
Yeah, I'm still here.
Sure.
Okay, good.
Sorry, apologies for kind of kicking you.
How dare?
It's okay. Now you can finish the games. Yeah. So, that said, how do we all feel about? I mean, did everyone? It can't have just been me who got feels when we entered this encounter. Surely.
You're talking about
P11.
11.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
Well,
I mean, I knew immediately what this was. I mean, there was no question in my mind,
yeah.
and it was only afterwards that someone in our Discord had mentioned that the sigil on the wall or wherever it was the seat of La Habrea. But I had to
La
remind
Habrea,
people
yeah.
that La Habrea is the speaker of the convocation, so it makes sense that his icon would be at the front. Has nothing to do with what the place is. This is clearly the convocation chamber.
yeah, the
Yeah,
instant I went in there, I was like, holy shit, this is the convocation chamber. Just instantly, I was like, you could tell.
That was immediately my reaction, and I flipped my shit.
I
when
did too.
I was so
And then
happy.
I was like,
I
cussing
was-
out Elidibus, because I told him in no uncertain terms in 5.3 that I don't know if I could take another battle with him. And here we are. And I'm like, excuse me, we discussed this.
I did not consent to this.
I'm beating up my boyfriend without my consent.
Yes.
But
Well, Athena's making you.
did
so.
we count that there's 14 chairs?
There are.
Right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the first thing I did after the battle is count the chairs.
I think I attempted to count them during the intro cutscene. I'm like, wait, 1, 2, 3.
I tried and then it went fast. 1, 2, 3, many.
And I assume that the only sigil is La Habrea's, right?
That's right.
Matthews. Yeah.
So Neela, how did you like it when he showed you his truth?
I was like, about fucking time we got a true form. It was cool.
I mean, it's cool
very
that
cool.
It's very cool that he uses both light and darkness because it fits.
Yep.
It fits Elizabeth so damn well, and
So-
it's like, yeah.
So would we say that we all enjoyed Themis essentially stripping naked for us
Of course.
in ancient society custom?
I still think it's funny that like people think it's the nakedness, not the, show offiness, but it's great.
It's the
I mean,
the,
in
in,
a
the intimacy of a
sense-
true form.
In a sense, it's very.
Well, I mean, it's just ether accreted about the body. It's funny that we all like fixate on the true form concept when it's literally just, oh, I built this thing out of ether.
It is interesting,
Yeah,
though. I mean, maybe
yeah.
we should pause on this for a moment, because the way it's addressed by Hades as well as Themis is that this is their true form. So, which is it?
They keep going back on that. They
Which
keep going
is
back
it?
and forth.
Like, are they normally regular people, or is the downgrade the mask? Which is it?
I would personally say this is my personal interpretation, so don't take my word for anything. But my personal interpretation is that it's only called true form. Likely there's some nuance from Japanese that there's lost, but by true, it's like how we do what's actually our true name, the one that we're given or the one that we choose for ourselves. So in the case of these true
A
forms
chosen form,
between
interesting.
quotes, in terms of these true forms, I would say that it's like their true form because they chose that form to be their expression of their selves.
Their
I don't know
magic,
if I'm
yeah.
making any sense.
It does make some sense.
These transformations are used specifically for working advanced magics. They designed it to work their particular magics better. Actually, I like the idea of like it being their unique form. As you were talking, that sort of occurred to me as if it's their unique form. Like no one else has a thing like this. And given the robes and the visual similarities that they intentionally strive for, having a unique form is something that would be special, but also would be like, hey, don't be too proud of that, or you're going to be violating the mores of our culture.
Yeah.
You'll have to correct me because this is years old now, but during the Shadowbringers MSQ cutscene, does Hades say and reveal our true names to one another, or does he say faces?
Yes.
He says names.
names.
True faces.
So, well, I want to
True
make sure I
faces.
have this correct.
True faces.
I want to make sure we have it correct because it matters. If it were just names, then fine. We know that the ancients think that the transformation
Hades.
form is gaudy, right? It's an overt display of your power. It's not meant to be done. You're peacocking. Get this out of here. But the names is a different thing. So if it's faces in that cutscene, then that I think we're on track. If it's names, then we might have a misconception. It's faces.
No, it's faces. Reveal our true faces to one another. I recall the line.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. I can actually hear the line
Of
in
course.
my mind.
Yeah.
I'm actually reviewing the cutscene right now.
Thank you.
Trust but verify.
In any event, nobody can forget Emmett Selk's voice. It's impossible.
True.
Rug says Hades' fight is about casting off titles and basically wrestling unrobed. That was the Greek way, yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's true.
So
But yeah.
That is quite literally how they did it.
Well, while we're checking the cutscene, the track, I love the Happy Sunshine remix of At the Amarat theme. It brings me immense joy. I've listened to it. Go ahead.
Oh, which are you referring to?
P11.
Specifically? Okay, that one of it. Oh yeah, that was very nice.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, it
You
makes.
said Happy Sunshine remix. I'm like, did I miss a remix?
I mean, listen to it again and please tell me if you think I'm mistaken. It's like an expression of it's like the way they've done the notes, and I'm not a musician at all. I don't have any musical training, but the way I feel this track is as if they are compiling a few feelings together. One is longing, one is like unadulterated joy, one is the competitive nature of the contest, and then the last part of it is a bit of what's the word? Maybe you can help me. But the song has a vibe to it. It's not just they're trying. They're Go ahead.
I was going to comment that you say you're not musically cultured. I would disagree. You picked up the vibe very well. Even though I'm not the expert myself. I only know musical stuff because of influence, because of my family influence. But it's enough, I guess. I have a bit of musical education myself, and I would say that you're exactly right. The vibe with the vibe of this theme of Amarat, it's not just also the fact that it doesn't feel sad.
Right. It's not merely not sad.
It's more like not exactly a friendly competition. But Themis kind of presents it to you like a friendly competition, actually. Even though
friendly
he's
but serious. I want to see how we do.
Serious because he's. I mean, even if he wasn't compelled by Athena, even Vena, when she was testing the Warrior of Light, was going all out. So the ancients didn't pull punches when testing.
It's not a valid
people,
test
you know?
if you don't truly put it to the metal. So
Yeah, but there's.
And I do believe. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I do believe that Vena also sort of ramped things up as she went along, so she didn't just like open with her ruin you attack. So it was still a valid test because she moved up to this.
she didn't want to destroy her only hope immediately.
Yeah.
Like maybe
It would
see
be
what they're
very
capable
funny if
of.
that happened.
Immediately.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between and I think what sells the vibe musically is it's a combination of both the music and the scenery, because the scenery
It's bright.
is bright, and if you go and of course there's a lot of light, and if you go and check the scene, you can see Amarok, but it's really to me it was really, I don't know how to describe it, because we're so used to see Amarok like in the gloomy shadows of the Tempest, but
Neath
here
dark
it was
waters.
like
Yeah.
Neath dark waters, but here was basically seeing Amarok through under daylight, and that's something that I think I mentioned we've mentioned at some point over these past 2 years that how great it would be to see Amarok under to get a better look at the
Oh yes.
at the whole thing.
Actually get to see it in its heyday.
And yeah, and even though we can only see a bit through the windows, it's enough to be like, this is a glimpse of what we actually wanted to see.
Yeah, this whole sequence is a resolution. I mean, I know that there was some discussion in the chat here about how some people thought that the 5.3 resolution was fine. It was poignant, and it felt final. But the core complaint we had, Neela and I at least, was that they took a character who had been building up as kind of an in the shadows semi-good guy, manipulative Ascian in white robes, and they took a single patch and they turned him into someone who had Alzheimer's. And this was such a quick turn in characterization that even though I enjoyed the patch, I think it's one of the best patches I've ever experienced in an MMO. For those who had deep feelings about the character, it was a bit of a cheap shot. Is that accurate, Neela?
That's accurate, I would say, yeah.
So in due course, seeing this again, where you kind of have, even if it's from memory, the character in his prime having an equal contest of will, feels real good. Feels real good. And this isn't even the resolution. That happens later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which definitely made the fight less upsetting to me personally, because the gut punch after the 5.3 trial was like, oof. Whereas this one, it was like, no, you're not leaving just yet, damn it.
Go back to the
You
past and
gotta
talk
see
to
this
your...
through. You gotta see this through.
Surely you're curious.
Yeah, that's the part that Cobb mentioned. And to be fair, I failed. Well, not failed there, because Pandaemonium has a lot of scattered references to the 13 trilogy, as it usually happens with 14. But I played Pandaemonium when I was really recently in my new meds, and I basically played Brain Dead through Pandaemonium, and I had to go after I had to, because Cope was like, you didn't catch it. I was like, I caught many things, but nothing stuck in my mind.
Oh my god.
It was embarrassing. But I'm actually proud of you.
Thank you.
Tetsu says, I really like SE's obsession with saving the bad boys and making us cry. This reminds me, we've
Yeah,
been
that's
discussing
fair.
for a while how there's very little true evil in Final Fantasy XIV. It's often a contest of perspectives. And then in some cases, like with Athena, you do get like the true darkest evil.
Or Valens from
Or
Varro.
Valens. But in general, it's shades of gray.
Valens from Varro is evil incarnate. You can
Yes,
you can't be
there's
you
no
can't
question.
be you can be you have to be evil incarnate to drink milk straight from the from the container, like I do.
If anyone in this game deserves immediate execution, it is that man.
I mean, Athena is not much better, but
No.
you know.
But see, was
It's
it
different.
Athena or was it Ultima's influence over Athena?
Well, this is a question that La Habrea and Ericthonios bring up. The question is, what of this is her nature? And
Someone mentioned Ultima?
La Habrea seems to think that, and I think the word that they use in the English localization is that this is her truth. So her truth is that she wants a god to rule over creation, to bring the star to its fullest zenith of capacity or ability. And she has zero qualms about destroying everyone and everything to get there. So I think La Habrea's inclination is to say that it couldn't have changed her nature, and that this is her truth.
That's because
It's interesting because
yeah.
Zodiac was almost that.
Correct, almost.
Dialogue says otherwise.
Oh no, I'm definitely exaggerating the case a little bit, but a very powerful god that a lot of people had to give their lives to create. It's like,
That tempers
there
the
was a
summoners.
little bit of. I
There's-
assume they're trying to get a little bit of the tendrils were already influencing him.
There's a big difference though. Between,
Oh yeah, no, I'm not trying to say they're the same.
between a god that Athena imposes on the people and a god that the people themselves agreed to create in order to save their world. There's
Absolutely.
there's a
Oh
big
no, it's
difference.
definitely like night and day. There's just a couple of parallels that I found interesting.
I agree.
So I'm going to go ahead and read this off
Go ahead.
because this is a direct. So she dubbed it Orosite, studying it with a fervor even unusual for her. The eventual fruit of her efforts was a Stygian crystal unlike aught we've ever seen, the heart of Sabik. A fervor unusual even for her. She was already a kind of mad scientist, you could call it. But that drove when she got that crystal, when she got the heart, it drove her even further. We've seen this happen. The effects of Orosite, we've seen this effects happen within the Evilise raids. We have seen it happen with Bagamnan. We've seen it happen with Argath. Argath turned into Duma. Bagamnan turned into Yasmat.
Yes, I think I know where you're going. Just to clarify what I was trying to say, Ayumi, I wasn't saying that the level of insanity didn't change, or that she wasn't influenced by the Arasite. She clearly was. The dialogue mentions that
a deeper.
Yes, a deeper state of what she already was at heart, which is what Orosite does. It brings out your deepest desires in the darkest way.
And there are many types of Orosite. There isn't just one. There are those that were created by Ultima. There are those that were created on the 13th. There are those that were synthetic, that are used by Valens von Varro. There are a lot.
They're the ones that we use
to
pop Asians?
There's the white Orosite. There's a lot of different ones. The ones specifically created by Ultima, however, are special in that they are used by her to kind of spread her influence and weaken or infect the worlds that she visits.
Agreed.
She is a parasite.
The only black Orosite that we've seen in 14 so far is the heart of Sabik, which may as well be the heart of the
All
heart
she
of
needs,
Ultima.
all she needs is one, because once the one picks it up, all it takes is for that influence to spread, is for one person to go mad, and for that one person to spread that influence, and from them to spread their influence. We all see what happened with the sect of Germanique and the heart and the light of Kiltia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the light of Kiltia is not as fucked up.
Ajora, yeah. Well, no. Ajora went on to create the light of Kiltia. Germanique was later.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
all this about the Black Auracite is reminding me that the large orb that encompasses Pandaemonium in this raid tier, I know that they didn't do this with it, but I immediately thought Black Materia and the Temple of the Ancients, and I thought maybe they would condense that into an orb. I really swear to God, I was on that train for a solid 10 minutes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The black sphere around the arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for any Final Fantasy VII enjoyers, the Temple of the Ancients, somewhere in the southeast of the map, where it's a puzzle dungeon, and Kate Sith Kachi uses himself as a he's basically solving the Rubik's Cube, and the trap is that the labyrinth will condense upon itself into the black materia, which is what enables them to use Meteor. So that's the callback I was seeing.
Interesting.
But that's my allotted sidebar for the day.
So after we mentioned the Heart of Sabik and we mentioned that's La Habrea, La Habrea goes, an unexpectedly specific question. I gather that the Heart of Sabik is not the only Auracite in this era. Regardless, I know not of this High Seraph. Athena was never forthcoming as to how she found the crystal, though we came to suspect that it was not of our star. Much later, we discovered that the Auracite magnifies the desires of those who come into contact with it. This would do much to explain Athena's actions following the recovery of the crystal. We know that from, and I don't know who bought the actual statue, but man, it was so much, like $300. The real world Ultima statue comes with a book that describes who she is and where she comes from. It's still in the dark about where she comes from. It describes her as an extra-dimensional being. And apparently, according to the texts that the Eorzea lore book has, she was summoned twice and sealed away twice. Hydaelyn sealed her once. She came back during the Age of Ivalice, and Ramza and the heroes were able to seal her again. But during the time of the Ancients, with La Habrea's dialogue, it implies that that Athena came into contact with Ultima way before she was sealed away by Hydaelyn. So how Athena got into contact with the alien is still a mystery.
This is a good
Given that
opportunity
Athena... Go ahead.
to ask Neela about the star Sabik.
You read my mind. I was
And if
going...
Ultima is a space alien, maybe we have an origin star.
It's not impossible. The star Osabek is the brightest one in Ophiuchus, correct? I'm now suddenly doubting myself. Yes, that's correct.
That's my memory of what you've said before as well.
Serpens is Anakohia Unakalhai is the brightest star in the Serpens portion of the Ophiuchus constellation, but the entire constellation, the brightest one is Osabek, which means the antecedent or the one that comes before.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, so and it's interesting then Ophiuchus being associated with Elidibus, of course, and I think Serpens connects with Zodiark nicely because at least in 12 he was very serpent-like.
Yep.
I mean, he's associated with the Ophiuchus symbol, star sign. which is supposedly the 13th, the 13th one.
Zodiac constellation. Yep.
Exactly, and yeah.
As it ties to the heart of Sabik, it's harder to say because they still have it very shrouded in mystery by and large.
Agreed.
But I do find it interesting that it was created by Athena, who was obsessed with this Aura site. I do think she stored at least some part of herself, if not her whole entire soul, in it. And that's why she was like, "Oh, you're gonna kill
There
me.
could-
but
that
before you
could be a
kill me,
way-
first let's roll the sex tape."
That could have been a way. That could have been a way also that Ultima escaped the Sundering.
I agree. I just have to. Did you just say you're gonna kill me, or else I'll play the sex tape?
Oh no, I said I know you're gonna kill me, but first let's roll. the sex
Okay.
tape."
Okay. Like, is this blackmail or?
So, after we talked to La Habrea a bit about that, he admits that he took it from Athena's laboratory and ended her life. The density of the aether within was unlike anything I had observed. I knew its capacity for destruction, but further analysis proved impossible. I elected to safeguard it myself. It is
Uh-oh.
possible that Athena herself obscured the crystal's contents. Even were her memories stored within, I would have remained in ignorance. If she included such a mechanism by which to give these memories form as she did with our own, ironic that I should have protected those very memories in the name of safeguarding the star. Fate is loath to see these mistakes go unpunished.
So for a while, we have been wondering how La Habrea changes from stern old man to bwahaha. And I had thought that just reincorporating himself before the sundering of the star might have been enough. But now we have the Aura site is a true Aura site with an alien influence, and he carried it around for 12 millennia.
So much so that during a patch cutscene, he changed from "I'm going to fulfill my duty for this to the star no matter what" to "I'm going to fulfill my own duty." And Elidibus had to correct him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all of this and still, even after all of this, we still don't know or can't say for sure what exactly is the origin of the heart of Sabik.
No.
Now we know what it is, which is black auracite that comes from very
Ultima.
likely comes from Ultima.
It came from
The
Ultima,
heights-
and it wasn't called the Heart of Sabik until Athena made it that way.
But then it's like, because Ultima is a Lucavi, and I've held the
Wasn't a
theory that
Lucavi then, was a Lucavi during the time of Ivalice. She was summoned with a will of her own during the Ivalician times, but not during the ancient times.
the thing with
That
the
is
aura
weird,
side
yeah.
the thing with the aura side is that it's kind of weird. I'm hesitant to not consider I mean, the Ultima we fight in Ivalice seems more like a primal than a real Lucavi if she was summoned.
So Saint Ajora, the first of the Zodiac Braves, it's actually explained in the lore. I double checked it. Ajora summoned Ultima from the celestial abyss to the source, and Ramsa had to seal her away because Ajora and his or her followers gave Ultima a sense of self. She became a Lucavi, a living primal. However, that was after she came into contact with Athena some millennia later. And that was after she was sealed by Hydaelyn millennia later. This is the Ultima as of before she got sealed by Hydaelyn.
So setting that aside for a moment, recalling the whole shebang in Pandaemonium itself, it makes me think that Athena wanted Ericthonius to become her vessel. That's right. Okay, she wants a vessel, and we know that in the Ivalice raids, Ultima also wants a vessel. And in the end,
Ultima wants us, basically.
that too, but also in Pandaemonium, Athena is also kind of like a vessel herself for Ultima, so it's like a vesselception. It's kind of a series of vesselceptions in that Athena is parasiting Ericthonius, and Ultima is parasiting Athena, and so on and so forth.
Who wants to see? All right, that's it. Who wants to hear my raid knowledge? Neela, cover your ears.
Me.
All right, covering my ears.
During the Ivalice raids, when Ramsa rescued Alma, Ultima whispered to us right before the Orban raid, "Blood of the Invokers, fulfill the ancient covenant and grant unto me the vessel promised." Genomus said that the tales of the High Seraph existed far before even the earliest of Evolution legends. She was indeed a very real and existent parasite. During the flashback, Ramza sacrificed himself to ensure that Ultima would never again walk the land, and knew that if people became aware of it, it would only inspire them to seek out the Holy Stones and repeat the same mistakes. Alma confirms that Ultima created Auracite in one of the cutscenes on the Prima Vista. She wears a necklace with an Auracite shard and is aware of Ultima and her powers. Wanting to help, she offers the High Seraph her assistance with her father's plan. By that point, she had already come under the effects of the stone, offering that they go onto Orban and free her to reveal the Angel of Blood's secrets. After doing so, Ultima takes control of her and teleports her to the monastery in order to lure us to get herself a new vessel. A quote from Oran Durai during his cutscene with Delita: "Ajora Glabados, Saint Ajora, first of the Zodiac Braves, was not the hero the church you would have him believe. He betrayed Mother Hydaelyn for the promise of coin and power, summoning forth a terrible evil from the depths of the celestial abyss. It was believed that only one of her chosen, a warrior of light, will be able to stand against her. When it became apparent that we were powerless to truly defeat the High Seraph, we chose the only path left to us, to do what Hydaelyn herself did countless centuries past, imprison Ultima." I have spoken with several colleagues back in Charlayan regarding their opinions on the ancient incantation, and while they have yet little to show for their research, they all agree on one thing: the manner in which Ultima etherically manifests should not be possible, at least on Hydaelyn. So it would naturally make sense if we discovered that the Alligans learned the spell from being not of this dimensional plane. As to exactly how they convinced the being to impart the knowledge unto them.
Now it's actually revealed that the Elegants didn't. It wasn't revealed per se to them. They just happened to have the heart of Sabik.
Oran Durai mentions a prison is only as strong as the seal on its gates.
So, Cobron, you had a thought, I think.
Oh no, I was just saying, boom, because
boom. Okay, got it. There. Absolute slam dunk. Is this a good opportunity
Athena
to?
Is Athena's theory. My theory was that any one true god would see us as we are, imperfect. She would hammer out our flaws and build something greater. To prove this would not only benefit the star. To prove this could not but benefit the star. I would give it the perfect stewards that it might shine brighter than any other. That's a quote from Athena after you beat her.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember that.
The density of ether, we already went over that.
So there was a question in chat.
Go ahead.
There was a question in chat earlier about this.
Can I just say one thing?
Hold on, please.
Okay.
When La Habrea says in A Realm Reborn, nothing more than is necessary for my god to be reborn, what god is he talking about now that we have this information?
Now that we have this information, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Also,
It changes the
whoever
context.
thinks that Evilise and all this is side content now, get fucked.
Nothing is side content in this game. But I think that's a really good question, because at the end of ARR, Elidibus basically approaches La Habrea at the end of 2.0 and is like, what are you doing?
By
And
my will.
yeah. And they kind of reach kind of an understanding that what La Habrea is doing will kind of further what Elidibus is trying to do. But it's very much implied that he is doing his own thing.
Yes, he's being very willful, and he's corrected. Elidibus tells him, by his will. And then La Habrea says, by his will.
Almost begrudgingly.
Yeah, he
Very
puts it
much
in
so.
italics, and that's a stern correction. And he also mentions it later. Elidibus mentions it later that he would correct Emmett were he to stray from the path.
Should
while he
offer
was
him correction. Would that I
Yeah.
would have been present to offer him correction.
Yep.
Yeah. So one caved under the burden of duty, and the other one caved under the burden of memories, and the other one caved under the burden of an alien influence, perhaps.
Kids, don't pick up
Well,
random stones.
Don't touch rocks, guys.
It's-
It's bad.
Is this a proper moment to pull up the History Channel meme guy aliens?
Oh, trust
Oh,
me,
for sure.
it's gonna be done.
Yeah. No question.
No, but really, I mean, this all brings me back to the fact that Athena found, between quotes, because we don't know how or that exactly, and then there's the comments of Ultima herself, and do you recall my? It's not exactly a theory, but it's my supposition that the first members, the first bearers of the names of the convocation were the first Zodiac Braves, and that they were the ones that fought Ultima for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, we had talked
Yeah.
about this and how it might have simply been outside of memory.
Neela, you can come back, by the way.
Oh, jeez. You might have to message Neela. We're sorry.
So yeah, this is not confirmation, but at a certain degree, it confirms that the ancients at some point had contact with Ultima's remains, maybe.
Or because she is an extra-dimensional being, she was actually likened by one of the cast to Omega as an extra-dimensional being.
Yeah. I would remind folks that the Endwalker MSQ mentions that that the people from Etheris were at least a stage 4 civilization, which if you
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I know, and we've talked, and perhaps you're the right person to talk to about it.
Yes.
But given that they're able to reach the ends of the universe and create life and the amount of power, I mean, this isn't even in. Didn't the author of that say that doesn't exist? You know, it was like a thought experiment.
What you're talking about is the Kardashev scale, which, as far as I'm aware, only goes from 1 to 3. Right
That's
now,
right.
we're like at 0.7 or 0.68 or something
Right.
like that, as humanity goes. Level 1 would be able to harness the entire power of a planet. Level 2 would be the entire power of a star or a solar system, and level 3 would be the entire power of a galaxy. So level 4 presumably would be the power of the entire universe, meaning that there would be nothing in the universe that they wouldn't be able to control, which is kind of insane when you think about it.
Agreed.
But I would very much put the ancients actually at a solid level 2, maybe like a 2.25 or something like that, but not a 3, because they were very much localized on Etheris. They didn't really venture too far out. And that was one of the things that Hermes used Dynamis for, was to be able to bridge that gap between the stars. So they weren't really in control of what other stars were doing. So saying that it's a Type 4 civilization just strikes me as really weird.
Maybe they were just, again, this is a circumstance where the writers are wrong.
Yeah.
But I was wondering about this because we were just talking about how we had a hypothesis that the original holders of the convocation names, outside of memory and time, way before our characters or our villains, might have maybe been ones to fight the extra-dimensional being, just because of the linkage between the seats and the Lucavi. And it's very tenuous, but I was, it's not, if any of that is correct, insert Ancient Aliens meme, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ancients had reached out to an interdimensional being from across
Or the
the
other
universe.
way around, that someone
Sure.
or something came to invade.
What I mean to say, though, is that it doesn't necessarily require that Ultima was on the source for Athena to interact with Ultima. And that was the only way I could think of at the time to reconcile the timeline issue.
Because she's extra dimensional, not intergalactic.
Correct. This would be like, it's not the same thing at all, but just as a reference point, this would be like in Xenogears, God is called the Wave Existence and exists outside of the physical bounds of our 4D universe.
Okay, yeah.
So in other words, she's a parasite traveling from planet to planet, dimension to dimension, universe to universe.
Right.
Nova.
It could be
It's literally Genova. It literally is Genova.
I mean, if she is extra dimensional, she could transcend time as well. And at the moment she's giving giving something here, she's already giving something at the same point, in the same moment, between quotes,
Which could
in a
also
different point of time.
serve to explain why she appears in 3 separate instances during the Ancients' time, during when she was sealed by Heidelin, and during when she was sealed in Evilise. Oh, and during our time.
That too, but I'm not so sure that the incarnation we find in
The incarnation that
Evilise-
we find in Evilise is a Lucavi, is a living primal. Not nearly as powerful as the one that the Ancients came into contact with, that Heidelin sealed away, that Ramza sealed away.
And this is just my interpretation, but even though she may be extra dimensional, I think the moment she steps up, she would step outside her dimension into our dimension. She would be to some degree having to abide by the rules of our dimension. So that's why I don't consider the incarnation of in the Evilise series like the real Ultima at all, because she's trapped in our dimension. So maybe this is just bullshit, but it's kind of the way I interpret that. She may have free leeway to do whatever she wants in her dimension, but if she steps outside of it, then then there's some restrictions she would have to face.
You're saying that much
Maybe.
like Hades or anyone else, you can be limited by your vessel.
Like, yeah. Or the conditions of the dimension you're stepping in. Like, for example, what Ayumi said earlier, that Ultima manifests in a different way. Yeah, it's true. Ultima shouldn't be able to manifest etherically as it is, because, well, it's an alien spell, so to speak. But at the same time, I think I recall that one of the reasons, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the reasons Ultima doesn't manifest as destructively as it actually is because Aetheris is not as the source or Aetheris is not as etherically dense as it should be in order to Ultima to fully manifest as the ultimate spell, you know.
I don't know about that, but that could be.
For some reason, that is in the back of my mind, but it may be something about the Bolgia logs. I don't remember.
So, AC Gears brought up an interesting point about the War of the Lions. So, in order to summon Ultima to the source, in order to summon Ultima at all, I'm going to dip back into tactics.
Bloody Angel Ultima.
The Bloody Angel Ultima. In order to summon her, she requires a vast amount of blood to be summoned. In other words, wars have to be instigated throughout history in order for her ritual to take place. During tactics, Hashmal was the overseer of this. Hashmal sacrificed himself for the ritual to be completed, and Ultima, the Bloody Angel, was descended onto Ivalice.
That was a hell of a scene.
Yes.
I want to sit on that scene for a moment. For those who have played Tactics, when you defeat the boss of the Lucavi.
She has two forms, the Arch Seraph and High Seraph.
Yeah. But when Hashmal, like, surely we're on the cusp of summoning Ultima, and just the last bit of blood was killing himself.
It's more like that scene is actually fairly metal for a pixel game.
Hashmal became Ilberd.
Yeah, straight through the in theme. But yeah, a punch through the chest from the front by yourself is a little bit crazy.
It's more like it's not like Hashmal was meant to be the last sacrifice. It's because he intended to kill Ramza and his crew, and when he was defeated, he was like, "Okay, I can't
get theirs. I'll get mine."
Yeah, exactly. So, and he was like, "Okay, Ultima, that's the moping these guys is basically your job now." Kind of.
But yeah, the two forms.
Go ahead.
No, I was giving you the floor.
The two forms. So I don't even have that up. Let me bring it up.
Oh, we don't have to look at them, but if you want, you can. The two forms visually are just, if you remember the Orban Monastery raid in 14, the mini angels that appear in the arena that the 6 players have to
that you gotta
break.
Like, follow.
That's what the first boss looks like.
Yeah, it's called the Demi Virgo in the raids.
Yeah, so those
they also appear. Yeah, they are what they act. That's what she actually looks like in the Ultima. In the Tactics games, the red and white
leotard
entity there.
Sexy angel of blood.
The funny thing is, in Athena's fight, even in the normal one,
yes,
she summons white versions of them, called Anamorphos.
You could not miss this if you tried. This was an immediate tell, and I was like, oh no, I see what she's doing.
Basically, so they're called Anamorphos, which in Greek is means human.
Animorphs.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I'm fired.
Her Arch Seraph form is not her High Seraph is just the red angel. Her Arch Seraph form is more like a skeleton with red wings.
Masculine structure as well with a crown.
Wow, I'm sending you Final Fantasy XII Ultima.
Okay.
Oh, the one with the dress?
Because I'm fairly sure that may be the real form of Ultima. because time-wise, she's the first Ultima. You know?
Yes.
So, this isn't a skeleton, but it is a crown with red wings. See if it'll pull up here. I guess you could say orange.
And a gigantic freaking gun under her dress.
Uh-oh.
Cannon, whatever. It's actually fantastic design. I like it. It's just kind of funky.
So there it is for everyone. The stream delay is tripping me up a bit, but it should be up now.
So in 12, her position on the ring of Pax is the furthest spot from Zalera the Death Seraph. So they're at polar opposite ends from Death, because her element is holy.
Yep.
No, she's the polar opposite of Zodiac, not Zalira.
It actually says it.
Yeah, Zalira's that's okay, so in Final Fantasy XII there's always this confusion that I have to deal with between the Zodiac whatever version and then the regular version that I played. In the version I played it was Zodiac and Ultimo, because Death is not the opposite, it was dark and light.
I see. I'm looking at the ring layout now. There's Zalera the third and then Ultima the third.
Do you have a picture?
Mm-hmm.
The Zodiac Age version does do things differently and it confuses me
Oh.
sometimes.
Maybe. Yeah.
There you go.
Is it up yet? Jeez.
Yeah.
The delay.
There you go.
I've got a delay in the studio. Yeah, so you see Zodiac at the top. This is a different thing that I think you were talking about, but I see Zalera at the top and Ultima at the bottom.
Wait, Zodiac, not Zodiark? No, I'm
Zodiac, sorry.
confused, sorry.
Yeah, so Zodiac at the very
no,
top.
I'm just double checking.
Yeah. Gilgamesh at the very bottom. But in terms of the row, on this chart, the mirror is Zalera Ultima. I don't have any first-hand experience of 12. I didn't beat it. I'm about 4 hours in. Seems like a fun game. Hopefully I'll get to it this year.
12 is very
yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I must play if you ask me.
It's a slower start than most games, and it is a different kind of format from other games. So I think that is partially what kept me away. The other part really was that I didn't have the console when it released, and I never got to it afterwards.
I'd say all Matsuno games have kind of a slower start, but once it picks it up, it's a wild ride.
See, here's the interesting thing about 12's Ultima. Eshkatan. Eschatan. Ultima's ultimate attack, where she flies into space and charges the cannon under her dress to blast all enemies with a ray of holy elemental light. So she's flying above the planet and then charges the beam down. I liken it to Ultima in 14 infecting worlds.
She's basically a satellite beam.
She's basically a satellite beam, only a parasite shooting her infectious whatever it's called. I'm not going to go into lewd terms here. I have you guys for that.
That's what we're here for.
I mean, if you want to go symbolic, this is she is this her zodiac sign is Virgo, which is the most female sign of all, so to speak.
Just
So,
saying.
If she's the act of spilling something from your womb is basically giving birth. So if she was giving birth to stuff, that means seeding things as well. I don't really want to. Yeah.
Yep, we'll not go into that. We'll just say it's Genova, by the way. She is who you would call mommy, or certain emo kids would call mommy.
I mean, you know, she's your mother, she's your maker. She is Evilise, so
Yeah,
She is.
she is.
Consign me unto darkness, and your light will be forever lost.
Mm-hmm. She's also mother of. She's also. She's taking also Athena as a host, who is mother to Ecthonia. So she. I mean, you know, if you think of the myth of how Athena and Hephaestus actually conceive, between quotes, Erechthonius. do we want to go into that? Or
no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
We can
I
save the
like-
birds and the bees for another day, okay?
I like how Athena says in her defeated quote, "My power wanes, the vessel rejects me." I don't know if that is Athena speaking or if that is Ultima speaking through her.
Mhm. Fair. It's a very blurry line. I can't speak today, apparently.
It's okay. So I don't want to rush us to conclusion, but I want to note that we are 20 minutes over, and we should probably decide how we want to end the conversation today. There is more to speak of, however.
Oh, I could go off on a tangent, and it would take you guys over in an hour. So I can save that for another day. Otherwise, it's just me talking about how Ultima and Pandaemonium are interlinked. But continue on what you guys are talking about.
I forget what
No,
that was. Hooray. We did
maybe
want to
closing
discuss
conclusion?
closing conclusions, but also an alternative would be if you wanted to discuss part 2 and kick Neela off the show. I guess we could, but we could also save that for another time.
Wow.
Kick.
That's
it's in love, Neela.
weird.
I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. I mean, you could not kick me off, then I'd be angry that you spoiled me.
Yeah.
Did we
I will
do a good
eventually
job,
be
though?
Getting to that fight. Oh yeah. I will eventually be getting to that fight, and I would like to see the full glory, as it were, unspoiled.
I also haven't seen the transition, but let's be real. When am I going to raid Savage again?
Damn it. Well, I kind of want to show you now on stream.
I know. You actually did post it earlier in the Discord. I just
did.
don't think I clicked it. So, what do we want to do, crew? Kobe, you have anything to say?
No, I think it was a great discussion. It was really interesting. I'm really happy that we have this new content that we can talk about and get passionate about. I know that the patches have been kind of underwhelming for the most part, and I get that half the team is working on 16 right now, but it kind of is frustrating to see the main game suffer like it has been. So I'm really hoping that now that 16 is about to come out, that we're going to get that team back and start seeing some good stuff roll out as we gear up for the expansion.
I agree.
And then they'll test them with 17.
And then we'll have 3 of the same game, and suddenly we won't like it anymore. I kid.
Doesn't that
It is a concern
usually
of mine. When writers of a similar taste join multiple teams, you start to see... sometimes you'll see the same themes approached, constantly.
Okay, we'll get the Shadowbringers team to write the next.
Heck yeah.
I assume that we will be discussing eventually 16. on
I'm sure we
Lorelines.
will. However, I don't know when, because most of us don't have a PS5.
I do.
No, I will have to. I will have to content myself with watching others play.
Yeah, well, I know it won't happen right away, but I'm more likely to buy a port than I am to buy a $600 console this year. But I'm bummed about it because this is the first standalone Final Fantasy title I've been excited about in years. So it'd be great to get a hold of it and sink my teeth into it. But yeah, I can't imagine us avoiding it completely. That would be a huge lapse in.
Someone asked us who if we were a dominant, who would be your icon in chat.
Shiva, easy.
I mean, he's not in 16, I think, but I would be Alexander.
So Tetsu would like to discuss Themis's last dialogue with us.
We might as well make next week part 2.
I don't
There's
know
a
if it
lot to
needs
unpack there.
needs a part 2. Is there a lot to unpack? Made me feel real good.
I
If you
mean,
pull me on the show, it will.
I think we can discuss the Savage transition. I mean, there's still a lot of things we can talk about in Pandaemonium.
We did not
I
get
haven't even
into part
summarized
12.
yet.
We did not get
Yes.
into 12. We actually only went over briefly 11.
Ah.
We didn't even go into 12.
Yeah.
there's-
So
That's a full episode.
all right. So let's retire for now and come back. Hopefully next Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be discussing the 12th tier, and we'll be discussing the closing dialogue with Themis, and
Sounds good.
part 2 of Savage as well.
But how do you want to? Were we talking maybe changes that?
We
going to
were, but
happen
they're
now?
very preliminary. We're not going to change anything
Okay.
now. We were just so everyone who's watching was informed. We're considering a time slot change, but we have to talk to everyone on the team and make sure it fits. If it doesn't fit, we'll be here regardless, because the goal is to have as many of us on as possible. We don't want a situation where even 2 of us can't show. By design, we want to make sure everybody can make it. So, but we're talking about time slot changes, and as that develops, we might come to you with your opinions on what works best for you guys as well. If we have, say, 3 good options, maybe we can do a poll and kind of see what works for everybody. But it's in discussion. We're just talking about it. Nothing to report yet.
Okay.
And with that, I guess we'll close up shop. Thanks everybody for coming. It's been a fun discussion, and we'll be back as soon as we can. Probably next Sunday.
Have a good one, everybody.
thanks
Have a good
everyone
night.
for coming out.
See ya. It was by design.